All right, I am recording.
Are you recording?
Let's
Welcome, everybody, to the intro that happens before the main beginning of the show. They call this a cold open. But there's nothing cold about this opening, am I right? It's a hot...
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire!
Hello, dig for bones.
I don't think anyone knows that I'm the one cut off your toes and put them in the drawer with the sock.
Hello, and welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, a place where science, skepticism, humor, and anthropology meet to discuss all things spooky, haunting, supernatural, and sometimes just the plain ridiculous. I'm your host, Cody Franks, and joining me as almost always is... flitting frantically, flying freely, flamboyantly, flickering fabulously, fueling friendships, favoring fun, flippantly foisting frivolity, and fantastically flambeing filthy fascists with flocks and knocks and nihilipilification.
Garth. Hey, yeah, that was it. Yep. Well-ordered number of words. All alliterative. Thank you. Thank you.
That came from Ken, and then New Jared popped in and said, hey, sneak in the word flocks and knocks and nihilipilification.
What is that word?
It is the longest non-technical word in the English dictionary.
That's not technical.
It's 29 letters long, and it is a real word because it's been in use in English since the 17th
Can
century.
you say the word again?
Floxinoxa nihilipilification.
What does
it
that
means
mean?
to dismiss something as worthless.
Oh.
So I'm saying that you are fantastically flambeing filthy fascists. While
Oh, who do that?
no, you
Oh,
are doing
I'm-
them by discarding them as worthless.
Yeah, by filleting the fascists.
Yes, with floxinoxa nihilipilification.
For real.
Say that 5 times fast.
Okay. So, welcome everybody. This is a loose episode. This is not a mini-sode. It's an episode.
It's
but,
an episode.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit it.
You know what you're gonna say. I'm just gonna get in the way if I keep talking. Go ahead, Cody.
Well, shout out to Discord real quick. Like I said, Ken and New Jared for coming up with the Garth's moniker this week. And then, of course, shout out to our Patreon. So you can go to Patreon and support us. Patreon.com/leasthaunted.
Yeah.
We have a new ghost tier member that just joined up. That's the $1 level.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a $1 level. It's not gonna break the bank necessarily, y'all. So that's $1. Thank you, new ghost tier. I can't wait to.
I would say their name, but it's not in my notes.
No, that's okay. They are unworthy of name saying. It's a 1 tier. They're not gonna get on Monster Squadron.
We still value them, but they are amongst us as if they were a ghost.
I like that. That's
Okay.
actually that's why it's called the ghost tier. That's good. Well, thank you, ghost tier person.
And in this episode, we're going to change things up just a little bit and start with a spooky check of sorts. We haven't done a spooky check. Oh, wait, let me turn off the Discord so we don't hear those little tunes.
Beep bop boop.
Boop, bop, boop,
Bop
bloop.
says the Discord.
Okay. Yeah, so we haven't done a spooky check in a long time, and
No.
usually we do them at the end of the episode. But since you and I both had similar experiences this last week regarding a particular elemental disaster,
Oh yeah.
we're going to talk about that first, and then in the second half, we're going to talk about a famous paranormal case that links to our experiences.
Right. So yeah. So
Topical.
the first half of this is us chatting about our what happened to us, but there is embedded deep enough if you stay an actual Least Haunted
Yes.
episode where we're talking about another thing. So yeah. How's your experience been the last week or so, Cody?
Well, as the intro, the cold open or the
Yes.
hot open,
Yes.
whatever, know that
Yes.
I bring you fire.
Yes.
So-
Cody's brought some fire here. This is original fire from this fire that Cody discovered, and it's just it's the internal torch. It's like the Olympic thing. We're just gonna keep it here.
Oh
in
yeah,
Least
I
Haunted
forgot the
headquarters.
Olympics are happening. There's more.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. You
more,
got to keep the flame going, man.
It's more topical. Okay, well, so I just got back from a vacation. I finally got some vacation time.
Yeah.
And Allison and I went up to my family's place in the high northern Sierra, an area that I didn't know until just like this last trip. I've been going there my whole life, and I
Yeah.
never knew that it's called the Lost Sierra.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because apparently it's a part that nobody ever goes to. And
Isn't
so,
it around where the Donner Party was?
Yeah, it's
That's
north of there.
Truckee.
It's north of Truckee.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the very top. It's where the very northern end of the Sierra, where they subsume underneath the Cascades.
Oh,
so it's
yes.
the transition phase between the two. And yeah, I've been going there since I was a kid. I've talked about it before, I'm sure. But this time we're up there. And one thing I love about summer in that part of the Sierra is that you get these thunderstorms. And I love a good thunderstorm.
Summer thunderstorms are cool.
In the last few years, I haven't gotten to experience that. Every time we've been up there, there's been nothing. So this time, it was a hot day. It was like 94 degrees. And then all of a sudden, in comes some thunderheads. And in a period of 15 minutes, we dropped from 94 degrees to 68 degrees.
Ooh, was it really windy? Like with the air moving that quickly to change temperature?
No, it wasn't so much windy. It just
Weird.
a chill. It just
Whoa.
And then
What time of day was it again? You might have said.
this is around noon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? And so then thunderclaps. Allison did see one strike of lightning in the distance, and then just torrential downpour, which was pretty cool. So we're sitting there. We had plans that day to drive to the nearest town, little town that's about 12 miles away. And this county, it's in Sierra County, the second least populated county in all of California. It only has like 3,000 residents.
Wow.
It is small. And the thunderstorm was so intense, like the rain was coming down. They were like, okay, we're not going to like drive anywhere. We'll wait until it breaks. And it finally did at about 2:00.
Were you going to the county fair?
We did that later in the week.
Oh, okay.
So then we drive to this little town to get groceries. And as we're driving to the next little town over, I'm looking out. This is a place called the Sierra Valley. People can look it up. It is one of the largest subalpine valleys in North America. It's huge. Used to be a lake that rivaled the size of Lake Tahoe during the last ice age. And then it was drained because a volcanic eruption blasted apart the northern end.
Now, subalpine means lower in elevation than the alpine range.
Yeah, it's just below the tree line.
Got it.
If you go a little, it's about 5,000 feet. And I
Okay.
think the tree line is like 8,000, which is, it's still 3,000 feet, but up there, that's really nothing.
I see.
Yeah. So we're driving, and I'm looking out across the valley to the other side, and I see smoke. I'm like, that's smoke. And Allison is like, well, no, it might be water vapor, which it could have been because it was a hot, humid day. Because as soon as that storm passed by, the temperature shot back up.
Was it
again.
white or dark?
It was kind of white, verging on dark. And I was like, okay, if that doesn't dissipate,
thick,
I was like, if that doesn't dissipate in like the next minute, that's smoke. I'm calling it in. And sure enough, it starts to get darker. And so I pull over, and at 2:46, I call 911 to report this fire. It would then grow to be known as the Gold Complex Fire.
They should have called it the Cody Complex Fire.
And if you go to CAL FIRE's website, it lists the official time that this fire was reported at 2:46.
So you did call it in.
I am the one who called in this fire. I took a photograph.
Smokey the Bear is very proud of you, Cody.
I will. We'll post a picture on. Well, our Tumblr gnome will post a picture on our Tumblr for us, and I have what is the very first images of this fire.
Wow.
It's still not.
I was gonna say, is it still going? This is a week later, by the way.
It's 98% contained today.
We're recording this on Wednesday.
9 days after the fire.
I think it's the 31st of July.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was on the 25th? No, 21st. It was on the 21st.
Okay, got it. Wow.
So I called in this fire, and when I called in, I actually reported 2 fires because there was the one plume of smoke, and then if I just looked a little bit to the north, there was a second.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 fires, they were called the Mill Fire and I believe it was the Scott Fire. They merged together to make one big fire.
Wow.
And that's what they called the Gold Complex because it's the gold area, I guess. I don't know. Or there's Gold Lake, something like that.
Wow.
Anyway, so they asked me where the fire is, and not being like completely sure, I just give them vague directions.
Well, you know where you are and you know what direction it is.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And I said, you're probably going to get this called in real soon because they do have fire lookouts in that area.
It sounds like it was pretty big, even then.
It got pretty big. Then, by the time we got home from the store, we were under evacuation warning where we were.
Uh-huh.
The fire was actually on the other side of a ridge, but they're like, if it crosses that ridge and it hits the valley, which is mainly used for growing alfalfa and livestock feed, it would turn into a grass fire, and grass fires burn incredibly quick. And so, being this little tiny town in the valley, we would have been burnt out. Luckily, that didn't happen. So that's on like,
That is pretty spooky.
and I posted pictures on the Discord, and I'll share a few with the Tumblr gnome. And I was taking a picture about every hour on the hour watching this fire, and so I could see the plume growing from where we were. That night, we could see the glow as if it was like Mordor in the distance.
Yeah.
It was pretty intense. And so the whole time we're not like, so you're supposed to be relaxing on vacation, and it's like, hey, by the
You're
way,
on Firewatch.
yeah, get ready to fucking run away.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Allison's cousin is in Chico, which is
Oh,
about
geez,
about
they're-
120 miles north of where we are.
That's the big fire in California right now.
And usually when we go to this town where the cabin is, her cousin then usually comes down for like a day or two and meets up with us because it's like, it's still pretty far away, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
So Wednesday, she hits us up. Hey, I might have to evacuate
Oh my
because
gosh.
there's this fire burning in Chico. It's now called the Park Complex Fire or the Park Fire. It is the largest fire we have this fire season and was started by an arsonist. Keep that in mind.
Oh, that was the car in the ravine.
Yeah, a guy pushed a
I
burning
saw
car
that,
into a
yeah.
ravine, and now so that started Wednesday evening. By Friday, that fire had consumed an area larger than the metropolitan area of Chicago.
Wow.
So we're talking like, we're nearing like 1 million acres. This thing is still burning right now. I think it's only 12% contained.
Yeah,
It's spread into like 3
huge.
separate counties. So even if she had wanted to evacuate and come to us, she couldn't because the road that connected the two of us was closed due to the fire that I had called in.
Wow. Thanks a lot for calling that in. If you hadn't called it in,
Let's go burn down the observatory so this'll never happen again.
If we just stop reporting the COVID cases, the numbers will go down.
that's how it works.
Yeah. And then that Friday, that fire had been contained enough that they opened the highway. So then Allison and I went to the county fair.
Nice.
It's such a small area that the 2 counties that are up there, they combine their county fair into one because there's so few people.
The bi-county area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while we're at the fair, we then on our way to the fair, we get a notice that there's a fire back home.
Oh, yes. This is when Cody texted me.
Yes. Friday, late morning.
Yeah, late morning. There's just down the road, there was a fire. And I heard about it, so I was like, well, I better go see where it is, because I had an idea that it was a couple miles away, maybe, kind of close,
Yeah.
probably not very big, but I was like, well, I couldn't see any smoke, but I heard choppers. So I headed right down, and
Yeah, I went to the fire site today and looked at it.
how is it?
Not as big of an area as you'd think.
Yeah, so what I saw, I pulled over on the side of the road, kind of nearest, and I could see the smoke. There were a lot of neighbors around who were just looking at it, and it was amazing. There were a few helicopters kind of making the rounds, and one of them swooped down. Now, they used to have buckets on strings, on
Yeah.
ropes,
Yep.
and they'd, like, scoop into the reservoir. Lexington Reservoir is right down.
They still do. I was watching those fly over me at that.
Yeah,
other
and
fire.
I think they had those as well. But what they have now is they just stick a hose in the lake, the reservoir, and they pull out water, and then they just fill up the entire helicopter.
Yeah.
And they go right over it, and it's like the bomber doors open, and they empty a payload, and the entire just water, as much water as could fit in the chopper.
Yeah, no,
falls
it is a
out.
huge
It was
chopper.
amazing.
Yeah,
to watch.
our local fire station is the local area helivac and helipad for Cal Fire.
They nearly quenched it in one go with that.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
Yeah,
to watch.
there was big news when we got that helicopter. It is like
Yeah.
a military grade helicopter, and yeah, I've seen it fill up at the reservoir doing testing runs, and it just dangles this like proboscis, like a mosquito or a dong, like elephant
Yeah,
dong,
like a
trunk.
dong that
I guess a
suck-
trunk.
a dong that sunks in. Yeah, a trunk would barely be a good metaphor.
But it dangles that, sucks up the water, and I think it can hold. Let's see. Well, my dad's water truck that he used to drive could hold 3,500 gallons.
It's
This
interesting
thing
that
holds, I
it's-
think, 10,000 gallons. So it's like a swimming pool. It, like,
It's
can suck
interesting
up a
that it's
swimming pool.
ex-military because the payload bomber doors looked like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
but instead of dropping bombs of death, it's dropping water of life to kill the fire.
So
anyway, that was quenched and it was pretty remarkable to watch.
So that happened at like that fire was out by like noon, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I watched it
But
for
then,
about 20 minutes.
But then
wait.
Allison and I are at the fair, and it's like about 6:30,
Mm-hmm.
and I get a call from my mom, and she's like, "Hey."
Another one.
She's like, so hypothetically, if we have to like break into your house, because remember I live next door to them,
Yes.
and grab things in an emergency evacuation.
Don't you have a go bag?
It was like, well, what
Well, there's
are
a
the
go
items?
bag,
What are items
yeah.
in the house that you want us to grab that mean a lot for you
Right.
to you? Because Yeah, newsflash, we have been given the warning that, like, we might have to evacuate any minute here.
I'm only down the street from Cody, and I was in the wait and see.
Yeah.
It's not mandatory, but
Yeah, both of
Yeah.
these fires that happened
very
were within,
close to each other.
Yeah, not just very close to each other, but both of them were
In time and space.
less than a quarter mile from my house.
Yeah, you were even closer than me. But this second one that came up later that day was at the very bottom of the canyon.
Yes.
And so that's what I had my eye on, because it's like, it's a little further from my place and yours, but it was also potentially bigger. I could see the smoke from the pizza place I work at. No knows.
Yeah.
And I could see the smoke, and it was like, ooh.
Are we closing so I can go home and get ready? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I told Ralph, I was like, look, I'm keeping an eye on this. If it looks like it's going toward the house, I got to go.
Yeah.
And so, so got to gather up the cats, right? So I had an eye on it, and I downloaded a couple apps. What is the app? that I got?
Firewatch?
Firewatch, I think.
Firewatch
so
is
I
a
highly
great app.
recommend anybody who this one I have is called Watch Duty. It works,
Watch Duty. I
it's
think
really,
maybe that's what I got.
yeah. Anyway, I recommended it. The updates are very.
It's run by
very-
a nonprofit, but you
Yeah.
can donate money to them for the upkeep. And if you pay that little extra, then you can watch live the aircraft that are reporting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but no, it's a great thing. You put in your zip code. If there's a fire
Yeah.
alert in your area, it alerts you and lets you know. What
So I kind of
status.
had one eye on that the whole time. It was pretty stressful, but lots of smoke, but it eventually was taken care of. They were
Yes.
able to make a ring around it, and
because of my daddy.
yeah,
Both fires. My dad was the one that showed up and showed them how to access the fire.
wow,
Because he used to run. Well, not only was he the garbage man for this whole area,
Yeah.
so he knew all the little back roads, but for like 35, 40 years, him and my grandpa
he knows
ran.
all the routes,
They ran all the water companies.
all the
in this
secret
area.
trails in the mountains.
Yeah, so not only does he know where every water main is, he knows where any place where a fire truck could plug in.
Wow.
Also, he was a water tender. He used to drive water
Right,
truck for
yeah,
fires.
yeah.
And so, yeah, both times he was able to like swoop in and like give them a plan of attack and
That's
say like,
fucking
hey,
awesome.
get down this road. This road will take you there. Follow me. And he led them basically to it.
Right on, Danny Franks.
But this is where it gets even spookier though. This is where it gets real.
Ral.
Because yes, we had these two fires that were suspiciously close to each other, within hours of each other, both burn points. So here's the thing about fire. Fire needs three things to exist.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fuel,
Uh-huh.
oxygen, which I guess is also kind of a fuel, and heat.
Heat or a spark. Yes.
Oh, a spark.
Yeah. So there's two ways a fire can start, really. You either have a spark, be it natural or unnatural. Natural would be your lightning strikes, like I witnessed.
Yeah.
And then unnatural would be, somebody maybe carelessly.
Throwing a cigarette out the window.
Yeah. We used to actually, when my old band Ghost to Rights, every summer when we would play shows, we would have a PSA
Hey, guys.
in mid-show about, hey, when you cash out your notes,
Yeah.
make sure it's fully out so you don't start a
Yeah,
fire.
step on it, keep an eye out. Yeah.
So both of these fires, though. Oh, the other thing is that some people, maybe a glass bottle could reflect. Could.
Refract light. Yeah, you
yeah.
could get a magnetism. Can do
And that,
it.
I mean, I've seen people.
Magnification. Garth, you meant magnification. Jeez. Okay, back to the show.
People posting things that in their window where light goes through a bottle and it like
And it
melts.
Yeah.
That's possible, but very unlikely given where this area is and how remote it was. But here's the thing: is both those where those fires started were accessible by trails
Yeah.
that lead to one specific residential community neighborhood in our area. And here's the thing: is that since June we have had 6 other fires.
Now this is news to me.
Yes,
I knew
6
I had heard there might have been another, but there's 6 others.
6 fires within a month and a half, all in a mile radius of each other, in areas where there was no lightning in those days. There
Yeah.
are areas where there's no bottles out there. It's pretty remote. Somebody had to hike in. So we have an arsonist. Like
Yeah, and
100%
not
was an
even
arsonist.
not even a clever arsonist, because he's just walking in different directions from his house.
Well, here's
Not very far.
Here's the thing
lazy arsonist.
Well, yeah, and from what the fireman told me, not very good either. They're like, yeah, this was not set pretty well. Like,
There you go. See,
So, but here's the thing: is that arsonists, much like serial killers,
yes,
like to compete with each other, and they get sparked by seeing other fires in the news. So
the fire in Chico.
the
might
fire
have,
in Chico,
yeah.
national news, started by an arsonist, not even, a full 48 hours later, after, actually less than 24 hours after they announced that it was definitely arson, and they had arrested that guy, these two fires spark in our neighborhood.
Isn't that fascinating?
So
Something about human psychology.
yeah, and that's what's truly scary. I think one thing that we try to put forward in this podcast is, to quote Futurama, there's only 3 real monsters.
It's Dracula, Blackula, and the
Oh, never mind. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the scary door. It turns out it was man.
Oh yeah,
right. That's what.
Well,
it is.
The monsters in us all.
The real monster is
when
man.
Somebody has something wrong with their brains.
Yeah, it's like
how destructive a single person can be by beginning this one thing that goes out of control.
And there's nothing we can do to stop it. We are powerless, at the mercy of this mad person.
Yeah.
Who is bound and determined to set our neighborhood on fire.
I wouldn't want to read into it too much psychologically. There's probably a lot of reasons a crazy person would do this, but the feeling of power of it's kind of like an assassin,
Well, same thing with serial killers. It's about that feeling of being in control and power.
I did something that has an impact on the national stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Or it could be a million other reasons. Who cares? Fuck them.
Yeah, they have a few suspects that they're tracing down. But yeah, it's just this crazy feeling where it's like, at this time of the year,
scary,
California...
We're already on fire.
Yes.
California's always on fire
it's
this
so,
time of the year.
I joked when we were up at our place, like, it's so dry. If you fart too hard outside, you're going to combust. Like, it'll start the fire. It is so crispy around here.
Yep.
That I didn't even barbecue the whole time I was at our place.
Yeah, I've been wanting to, but I haven't in a couple months at this point.
I'm very conscientious about checking my notes and where I do it.
Yep.
I got to carry a fire extinguisher in my car.
That's actually a really good idea. I should do that.
Yeah,
that's a really good idea.
This kind of thing.
Anyway, PSA everybody.
PSA.
Also, that's what's up.
That's what's up. Yeah.
So the spookies have been checked, I think, at that point.
Yeah, the real monster is mankind doing fucked up things.
Fire is maybe even a cryptid because it is alive.
Yeah.
It breathes.
Well,
it spreads.
It's there's a reason why it's one of the 4 primordial elements in the ancient world.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not going to go into too much at all about that aspect of fire and the supernatural aspect of fire.
That's a real episode. Everybody.
There's a whole lot of avenues that I could have gone down. I know there's a Japanese spirit that is like a living flame that starts fire, so we could have talked about that.
Let's list off all the things we could have talked about.
We've already done spontaneous human
episode.
combustion, so that's out of the way.
That was more spontaneous human smoldering, really. I was imagining Spinal Tap with that episode. So that was the spooky check. Is it too short a show to do? Oh
no, I have a thing.
Oh, you know what we're doing,
and it's connected.
Oh, okay.
In a tangential way.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be related, I promise you. But first...
I was going to ask if we had to dig for bones. That was what I was getting at.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was going to say, first, we got to dig for bones.
Oh, okay. I knew where we were.
Or some clever... clever burning... We're going to cremate some bones.
Well, let's burn away the... let's burn away the muscle tissue of ambiguity to get to the bones of truth. Which is cremation, really.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
probably
Anyway,
distasteful. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Okay.
What was that laugh? I asked myself. I'm trying to recreate that as much as possible. I don't think I've ever laughed like that in my life. That was new. What is that? This is my new laugh for 2024. New year, new laugh.
We have a spanking new podcast for your ear holes called Doom Generation.
Available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Later, Doomers.
Do you like beer?
Of course you do.
Do you like good food?
You better believe it.
Then we have the show for you.
It's the Hoppy Trails Podcast.
I'm Nick.
I'm Travis. And on each episode of Hoppy Trails, we invite you to come along on our journey to explore craft beverages and the foods that accompany them.
Check out Hoppy Trails on hoppytrailspod.com or listen wherever you find your podcasts. Connect with us on Instagram at Hoppy Trails Pod or reach out to hoppytrailspod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Come travel the Hoppy Trails with us, and remember to always say yes to the Hoppy ending.
Cheers!
Welcome back. Boy, those were some charred up cinders of bones, weren't they? Oh my God, the smoke, Cody.
They filled the whole room with smoke.
You gotta hold your breath when we do cremations.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. So now this brings us to part 2 of our episode.
I feel like there should be a stinger there. Welcome to part 2 about the fire episode.
And today we are going to talk about the Wem ghost photograph.
I've never heard of this.
I know you didn't. I mean, I did not expect you to have. That's why I was
Yeah, how would you know what I don't know? There's no way you could know what I don't know.
I have a vague notion.
You could suppose what I don't know. All right, so tell me about this photograph.
So the story takes place in the town of Wem, which is in Shropshire in England.
Ah.
Wem that's W-E-M, Wem, is a very old town and can trace its origins to the pre-Roman conquest of Britain.
It almost works upside down, but the E is backwards.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It was part of the home range of the Cornovi, who were a Celtic people. This is part of the area they lived in called home before the Romans showed up and dicked around with them.
Uh-huh.
The name Wem is derived from the Old English wham, which means
That's
to
the
wake
the
one
band.
up, which
Yeah.
means to wake one up before you go, but it also can be variously translated as a careless whisper.
Nice.
See, I was sure
You were ahead of my joke.
I actually
Wham.
I anticipated that you didn't know who Wham was. And you were probably gonna ask me if that was
I
true.
knew the band, but I wouldn't have been clever enough to come up with puns based on the song. Very
Well,
good. Very
in
good.
reality, it actually means marsh.
Okay.
Wham, which then becomes Wem. The town is mentioned by name in the Doomsday Book, which I must assure you is not as cool as it sounds.
Well, okay. So the Doomsday Book.
Don't read till Doomsday.
There's a book by Connie Willis called Doomsday Book, but that's a sci-fi.
So it's
thing.
actually, it was originally spelled as Domesday, D-O-M-E-S, but it still is Doomsday.
Oh.
The book was so it's a record of the Great Survey as ordered by William the Conqueror when he conquered Britain, and it was completed in 1086. It was essentially just a census record of all the land in England.
But they weren't going to sell any copies with a title like Census Records, so they had to go with Doomsday Book.
Well, actually, so it's a record of all the lands, who the lords of those lands are, what is on that land, how much revenue it generates, so they can know how much to tax those lords in the feudalistic system. But it's incredibly invaluable to historians.
Which means valuable, people.
Yes.
I know.
Inflammable means flammable? What a country. So originally, though, it was called the Book of Winchester.
Okay.
But it was referred to as the Doomsday Book starting in the 12th century, since its estimations were considered as unalterable as the Book of Final Judgment on Doomsday. Hence the name, the Doomsday
That is, boy, they're really stroking themselves with that. We're so sure of our statistics that it is as for certain as the final judgment.
But at the time of the Doomsday Book, the town of Wem, composed of, they had 4 villagers, 8 smallholders. I don't know if that's like somebody...
Smallholders.
Yeah, I don't know. 2 slaves.
Mm-hmm.
It had 8 plow lands, meaning like 8 areas that could be farmable.
Okay.
It had 1 lord's plow team. Don't know what the fuck that means. And 1 men's plow team. Don't know what the fuck that means.
Well, they would compete in
right.
in summer games.
Yeah, exactly.
The men's plow team and the lord's plow team.
But also had 100 pigs. And yielded an annual value to the lord of £2 in 1086.
Okay, so with inflation, how many pounds is that? Okay.
Wem played an important role in many historical and significant events, including Buckingham's revolt against King Richard III, which is part of the story of Shakespeare's play, Richard III.
I guess his revolt was successful because he made a palace after that.
No, actually,
is that not that guy?
No, actually, so he was he's Lord Buckingham. He teams up with Henry Tudor, who, spoiler alerts, is the king we know as Henry IV. Oh no, Henry VIII. Sorry.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, not Henry IV.
With the wives and the this and the that.
Henry Tudor, the founder of the house of Tudor. But anyway, at this stage, the revolt fails. Buckingham's soldiers abandon him in the marsh.
Buckingham's soldiers abandon him
he
in the
then
marsh.
disguises himself as a common working man digging a ditch in Wem, where he's captured.
Oh, wow.
And then he's executed.
Oh, that was a good idea, though. To go in disguise as a ditch digger.
But the real important thing that happens there that we are concerned with, because it sets up the rest of our story, is March 3rd, 1677, a fire nearly destroys the entire town of Wem.
Oh.
They call it the Great Fire of Wem of 1677. Because, it happened in Wem and it happened in 1677.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, right. That follows.
Yep.
It was so intense that the flames were recorded over 9 miles away and were said to be as bright as the full moon at night. So, like, you could read by the light of this fire.
Does this sound similar to the fire you witnessed in the Sierras, or bigger? You were further away from it than the people that were reading.
I was probably about 15 miles away as the crow flies from the fire. I don't think I could have read by it, but there were I didn't have the best vantage point.
Yeah, but if you had no obstacles or mountains in the way and you were closer, you might have been able to read by it. Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
So here's an account of the Great Fire of Wem written at the time and how it was started.
They didn't call it the Wem Lightning Complex back then.
No.
I guess it wouldn't have been lightning. Maybe it's not lightning. What started it, Cody?
Well, it wasn't Miss O'Leary's cow, but it was but it was equally a scapegoat. Okay, so I don't know if I should do an accent for this.
Well, you want to do a medieval Middle English accent? Think Canterbury Tales. No, that's actually even earlier than this.
Oh, man.
Do Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That was around that time.
This dreadful fire began on Saturday.
That's good.
Between 7 and 8 o'clock at a small house near the upper end of Leek Lane, which stood on the same... Okay, I guess it's going to morph into, it's morphing into Matt Berry.
It is. Yeah, that's fine. Go with it. It's great.
I guess Happy McAllister.
Yeah.
Here we go. This dreadful fire began on Saturday between 7 and 8 o'clock at the small house near the upper end of Leek Lane, which stood on the same ground by which Mr. Phillips' brewhouse now stands. It was occasioned by the carelessness of a girl about 14 years of age called Jane Churm. Okay.
She was a butter churmer.
Who went upstairs to fetch some fuel kept under a bed, which is where you keep
It's a great place for...
in order to make a good fire against the return of her sister, Catherine Morris, of the New Street, who was washing linen at Oliver's Well. You know the place. The inconsiderate girl, while she was gathering the sticks together, struck her candle stuck her candle in a twig that had compassed a spar. When catching the thatch, it set the house in flames.
Oh my gosh.
Which, being agitated by violent tempestuous wind, soon defied all human means to extinguish them. It was a very dry season, and the houses were covered with straw or shingles, so that the fire spread into several streets.
Thatched roofs, yeah. Ooh.
Thatched roofed cottages!
Yeah.
Much like Trogdor.
Burninating the countryside, indeed, yes.
Yes, indeed. Where was I? So the fire spread into several streets, and with such rapidity. Rapidity?
I always say rapidity. But
Once again, you and I.
But back then, I don't know how they would have said it.
Anyway, it seized house after house, that in short time the conflagration became general. A strong easterly wind blew the
I would call
thatch.
it conflagration. So there you go.
Whatever.
Sorry. I will not cut you off again, Matt
There's
Berry.
a lot to read here.
Go ahead.
Okay, may I continue?
Yes.
All right. Burning thatch and shingles to vast distance, and the devouring flames ran along High Street, Cripple Street, and... Whoa, dude. Not cool.
Come on, guys. Come on, Middle Ages. Get it together.
And the horse fair. Oh, man. Can you mention the horse fair?
The horse fair street?
No, just as the horse fair.
Oh, they had fairs back then.
But a whole fair of horses? Like, what's the carousel at the horse fair?
The carousel.
I'm assuming
would the horses be riding?
Exactly. I assume this is a fair that the horses are going to.
Yeah, it's like the teddy bears picnic. The teddy bears are the ones having the picnic. So what do the horses ride on the horse carousel?
We'll never know because it got caught up in the
giant horseshoes.
Consuming every edifice, the free school only excepted. As far as Burton's Pit. Man, goddamn the Middle Ages, man.
Yeah.
Oliver's Well, Burton's Pit,
You know that somebody named Burton fell into that pit and somebody named Oliver fell into that well.
It's a long story, an interesting story in how that got that stage. But we shan't be talking about that now.
Okay.
Also, the House of George Groom. when on a sudden the wind turned to the southwest and carried the raging fire through the noble street as far as Drawwell House. A great number of country people were now come in, who offered to assist Mr. Hagginson in carrying out his goods. I assumed he was the shopkeep. But he would not suffer any to be removed. Goddamn looters.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to give them back.
I think this is a nice way of saying looters. Being intent on the preservation of his house.
Okay.
So then basically the townspeople all band together. They do a bucket brigade.
Nice.
And then people start going ahead.
They do have wells. We know that.
Yes,
Okay.
and a pit. Apparently they then they're anticipating where the fire's going to go, so they are rushing ahead and pulling all the shingles off the roof.
Oh, wow.
And all the
Because the shingles, the thatch would definitely catch.
Yeah, so they're throwing those off the houses.
I mean, they must have made shingles out of wood back then.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah.
So the big old fire.
Create a perimeter.
Let's see, who does it say?
So it was all this young girl's fault. This 14-year-old girl.
Okay. One man and several cattle were consumed in the flames. The man was Richard Sherritt, a shoemaker, who lived on the ground where Sarah Jones now does. I bet she killed him to get his land.
It must have been. She's a witch burner.
Having fetched a parcel of shoes out of his shop, he was seen to go under the market house, which is supposed to have fallen on him. An estimate being taken of the buildings and the value of the goods consumed by fire, it was computed that the buildings were worth £14,760 10 shillings, and the household goods £8,916 13 shillings, and one D? What the hell is a D?
Wait, didn't the Doomsday Book say that the entire county was only worth £2?
That was in 1086. This is 1677.
Oh, well, that's inflation for you.
Yep.
Or progress, or industrialization.
So the whole loss amounted to about £23,677 3 shillings, and one, maybe it's $1? What the hell is a D?
Well, there's shillings, pence, and
I don't know.
Galleons. Yeah, I don't know.
Sickles.
Sickles.
For which a brief was obtained, dated the 31st of May, 1677. So anyway, that's the story of the Great Fire of Wem.
Okay.
Now we're going to fast forward the VHS tape of history, metaphorically. If only we had some kind of carousel, but I think it got lost at the horse fair.
Yeah, the horses took the carousel. They wouldn't give him back. They thought it was insensitive.
So we're going to go forward to November 19th, 1995. A fire has once again struck the town of Wem.
Oh, no.
This time it is it's the town hall that has come ablaze. Tony O'Reilly.
Riley? O'Reilly?
No, it's Rahilly, not O'Reilly. O'Reilly.
Auto parts cheap. I always think it says cheap at the end, but they really say yeah. That's my.
You're from that dimension.
I'm from that dimension. You knew what I meant.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, Kelly's from the other dimension. Turns out she's right because we've heard the ad. Anyway.
Well, just right in this dimension.
Okay.
But not where you're from.
Thank
Anyway,
you. 1995.
Tony O'Reilly is an amateur photographer who sees an opportunity, so he grabs his camera, heads to the scene of the town hall, which is burning, and he stands across and takes aim with his 200mm lens and starts snapping photographs. He doesn't develop them right away. It takes him a few months because he builds his own darkroom. He's an amateur photographer, and he wants to do it all himself. So it takes him a few months to build his darkroom.
He's doing this in the exact order that you do to make film. It's like, all right, I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to take pictures. All right, I got this film. I'm going to make a darkroom. Like, he doesn't have anything ready. That's fine. All right.
So it takes him a few months.
Okay.
And as he's in the darkroom, he's looking at the negatives, and on one of the pictures, he sees what he thinks is a smudge. And that maybe somehow he messed up because he's an amateur, right? He's just starting out, so maybe he fucked it up. So he develops a full-size picture, and he's shocked at what he sees.
Oh, my gosh.
Garth, what do you think he sees?
I think he saw flames. Maybe he saw a face? Usually people see faces where in the static.
Do you have your phone so I can send you
I do? Go ahead.
I'm trying to airdrop.
Airdrop to me, buddy.
Wait for Garth's phone.
Looking for Garth's phone. Do I have my Wi-Fi on, and do I have my Bluetooth on? And yes, I have my Bluetooth on, and I also have my Wi-Fi on. Why do you not see me? Do you see me, Cody? Cody is not seeing me. See me, Cody. Hey, Cody.
I'll try
don't you
again.
see me? Let's try again. I'm singing the Garth waiting for a drop song.
Copyright that shit.
Oh, contacts only.
Oh, well, my computer.
Everyone for 10 minutes. You should be my contact.
There you are. Okay.
What? Are you
Wait,
not
no, that's the wrong one. Don't look at that one. Disregard that one. That's a spoiler. No.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like nudes. Okay, I won't look at it.
It's my dick. Don't look at it.
Yeah, the intensity with which you panicked. All right, so
There.
I don't. Okay.
Look at the one that's coming right now.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do because I think
Sex joke.
yeah. So you take
Yes, that one.
Okay, I'm gonna look
Okay.
at it.
Yes.
Okay.
What do you see?
There's a young girl. Ooh,
Yeah.
spooky girl.
She's spooky, right?
She's spooky. She's down there. All right, so this is a fire. It's the house is lit from the inside, or it's a bar. No, this is a
it's
city
the town
hall.
hall. City hall.
City.
And that is actually a fire
city hall.
escape that is coming out of. That's an open door that leads to a fire escape on like the second floor. And what you see there appears to be
Yeah.
a young girl who was standing like in the flames, of a burning fire.
Looking not scared. She's looking ghostly. She's like
She looks
there
very
but not
stern.
there. Very stern.
Yeah.
Very
judging. She's judging me.
She's judging, and she's acting.
She's judging the amateur photographer.
She's very.
She's like, you suck.
Your composition is so shitty.
Yeah, she should be center frame.
Yeah, she should be center frame, but yeah, she does not look like there's a giant wall of flame behind her with her composed expression.
Okay.
Yes.
So, for the next 15 years, this photo would be considered some of the best evidence of ghosts to have ever been captured on film.
Wow. Okay.
15 years.
Wow.
Here's the initial reactions. So the press, they catch wind of this story, the photograph. It becomes internationally famous. This is reported on.
Okay.
The photograph is the subject of numerous news stories and television specials, one of which I watched. You can watch on YouTube. It is from... This is 1995?
Yeah.
So 94 is when the fire happens.
On BBC One.
95, this is November 94, the fire. By 95, he's developed it. Within 95, there's news specials.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the special from 95 of this where they interview Tony O'Rahilly about it.
We'll put a soundbite of him talking in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I built my own darkroom in my garden here.
All right.
Come look inside it.
Yeah, great.
So the negative in the photo are analyzed by experts. And like with most paranormal photos that we have discussed in the past on the show, the experts, of course, split. There's Dr. Vernon Harrison, who's the former president of the Royal Photographic Society, and this is what he had to say about it. Quote, the negative is a straightforward piece of black and white work and shows no sign of having been tampered with. However, he was hesitant to say that it was a ghost.
Right.
There were those at the time who believed that what O'Rahilly had captured was an instance of pareidolia.
Remind me what that is.
That's when you see faces and things.
No. There's way more than that. It's a whole little girl. That's not a flame being in the shape of a person.
Well, if you you can see anything in the flames if you looked at the right time. We just caught it,
Nope. There's too many facial parts. There's no way that's flames. That's a girl.
One expert was of the opinion that the picture was a carefully crafted composite, possibly using the same double exposure technique that we discussed way back in episode 81, Spirit Photography 101.
I can see that as being a thing.
The expert claimed that there were faint horizontal lines across the features of the ghost girl, which suggested that the original image of the girl was most likely a still shot from a television broadcast or a videotape.
I don't see that in this thing you sent me, but it might not be the highest res version of the photo.
Yeah. He's looking at it with a magnifier.
Yeah.
However, there are believers. For those who believed that it was genuine, they claimed that they knew who the girl was.
Oh.
It's Jane Churb, the little tot who started the fire.
From those hundreds of years ago.
Yes, the 14-year-old girl who started the Great Fire of 1677. They claimed that her spirit had returned during this instance of fire, since Town Hall was supposedly built on the site of her home, which was the epicenter of the original fire.
Wow. Okay.
A brass plaque was placed on the new rebuilt Town Hall after this fire, commemorating the ghost girl and proclaiming Wem to be a, quote, ghost town. Get it? It's a town of
that's a
ghosts.
different kind of a ghost town.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And, of course, when the photograph becomes famous, suddenly people are coming out of the woodworks with their own stories of seeing the ghost girl or weird things in Town Hall.
As we might expect.
In the news story I watched, one of the insurance investigators said that when he came up to the area that had burnt in that landing, mind you, this is before the photograph would have been published because he went right after the fire. And the picture wasn't developed for several months. He claimed that when he went up there, like the day after the fire, there was like a oily, wet, sooty mud on that fire escape from the water They'd been
Yeah,
sprayed, right?
that makes sense.
And there were child-sized footprints
Oh,
in
that's
the mud.
super creepy. Ooh.
So just very small footprints?
Just very small footprints. Yes, just there.
Although the fact that he didn't document this at the time.
Maybe he didn't have. Not everybody had cameras in their pockets like
he's
nowadays.
He's a fire insurance investigator.
Okay,
His
they all
job
do.
Is to
you know
be
what?
There to document everything of the fire.
All fire insurance investigators keep cameras on them.
Yes.
Even in the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also that he didn't mention this until after the photograph had been publicized.
Yeah, that seems pretty important for your fire insurance investigations.
Another part of the building did not burn and was saved, and that part happened to be an old theater. The old projectionist of that movie theater from like the 1940s, he then comes forward to say, oh, when I was a teenager and I worked the projection booth, one night I was closing up the access hatch to the attic, and I looked down and up. I know he says a non-British accent. He transferred, okay?
Yeah,
he's an old man.
People move around.
He's like, and I saw the mist, the cold mist rising up the spiral staircase towards me, and as it came closer, it got colder and colder.
I'd looked, and I saw the mist coming up from the bottom.
And then the story just kind of ends. It's like, okay, well, what
so
happened?
the fog rolled in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, then people just start coming out, and oh yeah, I saw the ghost girl, or I saw a leprechaun.
To me, it looked like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun and say yeah?
So, what is the truth? I want the truth. And
Cody,
yes,
I can handle the truth.
Yes, you
can.
can.
You? Yeah. I think our listeners can too. Let's blow the lid off of this.
So Tony O'Rahilly died of a heart attack in 2005, 10 years after his ghost photograph became famous. And for the following 5 years after his death, the legend of the ghost girl of Wem carried on until 2010. Retired engineer and taxi driver Brian Lear was reading a nostalgia piece in the Shropshire Star newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an article about, like, we have those in our local paper, like, oh, remember when?
Oh,
Pictures
yeah.
from yesteryear.
Sure.
Right? And in that article, there was a postcard of downtown Wem dated to 1922. And something about that postcard struck him as odd. The postcard showed a street scene of some shops in downtown Wem. And standing in front of one of the shops was a young girl in a dress and bonnet.
Oh.
Garth, let me show you.
Ah, this one?
Yes.
Hey, there's a little girl in a bonnet in front of a shop. Yep, you were right.
Now,
okay.
Look at them side by side.
Oh, it's the same shot.
It's the exact same shot.
Her bonnet is gone, but it's actually blown out because of the exposure. But yeah, no, the lighting on her face, it's for sure the same shot.
Same girl.
So does that mean it was a double exposure, or that there was a cutout cardboard picture of her and it was taken in camera? That would be my only question.
Okay. Well,
yeah, that's totally
according
her.
to Mr. Lear, who noticed this, he said, I was intrigued to find that she bore a striking likeness to the little girl featured as the Wem ghost. Her dress, bonnet, and ribbon appear to be identical. Mr. Lear contacted the paper with his observation, and this re-sparked the controversy over the photo.
Nice.
However, Lear was resistant to call O'Rahilly a hoaxer. Quote, I'm not going to get pinned down on saying whether the image Tony took was real or not. All I'm saying is that the two pictures are very similar. We can't ask Tony what he has to say because the poor man is dead. It's up to the people what they believe. It certainly is an interesting new development in the mystery.
Very very diplomatic. Good,
Also,
good puns.
Right.
Yeah, development. Yeah, to develop a photograph.
Some may move the goalpost and say that maybe the Wem ghost is the spirit of the girl in the postcard.
Yeah, and all ghosts look exactly
but
like
if true,
that
if true,
from that angle.
Why true?
Yeah.
If true, why is she wearing the exact same outfit in the exact same pose? Maybe if we could find the identity of the girl in front of the shop in the postcard, we could find out how long she lived. Because if she lived to old age, then it seems a bit weird that her ghost would show up as a child wearing the same clothing she wore in a postcard.
Her childhood innocence died that day, and as a ghost...
Rosebud.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what if she was actually still alive at the time of the fire?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be hard for her to be a ghost then. But as far as I know, the identity of the girl in the postcard has never been confirmed.
I mean, I think the case is closed with how obviously similar those two are.
But
actually, how did he do it? Was it a double exposure? Did they think?
One thing for sure that she's not Jane Churm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, from the 1600s now.
Yeah. So remember how that one expert claimed that the image was possibly taken from a video or a TV due to the faint broadcast lines?
Oh, yeah.
They say that the horizontal lines on the girl's face suggest that it's been lifted from something like videotape and then superimposed on the snapshot of the fire.
No, I haven't done that at all, no way. It's up to them what they say or what they think, but, it's none of my doing.
I was like, okay, yeah, he's blinking like really hard. Like, yeah, okay.
Okay, well, Tony denies it.
Well, they said it was because there were the, quote, broadcast lines that were present on the picture. He may have been wrong about the source of the image, but he was right about one thing. Yes, television transmissions and images taken from those old school CRTVs do have broadcast lines.
Mm-hmm.
But what else has lines like that?
A
Xeroxed photograph.
Oh.
So most likely, Tony Overhilly, who was experimenting with his own dark room and photographic developing, happened upon the oldest trick in the ghost photography book. Literally, that of double exposure.
Yeah, double exposure.
He was aware of the legend of Jane Churm and the Great Fire of 1677. So when the fire struck Wem again, he saw an opportunity for some fame and fun. The postcard was available through the local library and historical records. He probably found it in a book in the library, took that book, Xeroxed the postcard, cut it out, and then did a double exposure. And from that, a whole generation of believers had a piece of evidence that they believed to be real, which they then used to support their beliefs.
There you go. It all comes down to that somebody else found that original.
Yeah. So let this be
if he had taken his own picture of somebody, they never would have discovered that.
Or drawn a fairy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to the fairy story.
That's really interesting.
So let this be a lesson. Sometimes the best evidence is too good to be true, but even though it's fake, it can still spark a fire. In a way, Tony Overhilly was an arsonist of a different sort. and he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for that meddling retired engineer / taxi driver whom I'm assuming had a dog.
Nice. Oh man, good. That was really good.
And that is the story of the Wem ghost photograph.
It's fascinating because that immediately brought to mind the fact that as an artist, if I'm going to come up with illustration for somebody, it would be very bad for my reputation for me to just trace some other artist's art or a photograph straight up. And I do use a lot of reference materials, and I'll even loosely do certain things, but I keep it distinct enough that I'm not copying something. But what has happened in recent months is that people are starting to use AI-generated art as reference because it's generated for them. You wouldn't necessarily find it anywhere, so it would be harder to...
Yeah, pinpoint.
You could generate art and then use it to trace. Yeah. And then that was just generated for you. I guess it's possible someone could find it, but they probably would. It's not like it's published somewhere.
There won't be this postcard.
So it would be harder to find... that's what made me think of that. And it brings up an interesting, well, that's more latitude. That's another tool, but also people could rely on it, and then they're kind of using this crutch.
Yeah.
And if they're not explaining that's what it is, what are the ethics behind that? It's just interesting because that is something that I've been aware of, and this story reminds me very much of that.
And I've always been of the opinion that as the average person's ability to create more special effects with ease using software increased, that the likelihood of fake or hoaxed paranormal videos would go up. Yeah. But that was even before AI entered the chat.
Yeah, that's a whole other level.
AI entered the chat GPT.
Yes, right.
And so, with generative AI, you can make videos and deep fakes and shit like that.
Yeah,
and
they still look pretty junky, but it's only been around for like a year or two. So
this idea of the reliability of photographic evidence or anything is going to
That's going to be a big thing that I think we'll most likely tackle again in future episodes because it is a new reality.
Yeah.
It is very spooky because you cannot believe your eyes anymore. Anything could be faked.
We did that one video where our buddy TJ had ChatGPT write an episode of this show.
I remember that. Did we ever release that?
I think so.
We did. Okay. I forgot if we released that because you hated it the whole time. You're like, this is fucking awful.
And I was trying to affect the AI computer voice. That you would see on
But we
TikTok.
basically, what happened is TJ printed up a script for us.
Mm-hmm.
So Cody read as Cody, I read as Garth, but the lines were written by ChatGPT. It was fun.
And not as well as the one that wrote for Michael Swaim. This one, because also this one knows nothing of our work.
Yeah.
Because it was like having me present it as if I believed in the paranormal event and was not like questioning it. And it was really creepy and weird that something could.
It's a fun little exercise at the dawn of this new thing.
But I also, if people hadn't realized the Easter egg, that I never show my hands in that video.
Oh, that's funny. Because of the
hands,
fingers.
The fingers, that's
the fingers,
how you know they can't do it. Anyway. I can tell you one thing that is not computer generated or false.
We hope.
We hope they're not bots. Is our patron producers. I'm pretty confident that I'd say
we
90%.
We know a few of them.
About 90% of them I have like
we've interacted with in some way. For sure.
And so and some are actually family. So I hope they're not.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, can you imagine?
Yeah.
That'd
be like a generic Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. And the Twilight Zone or to Shyamalan it. Turns out you were the AI.
Cody.
What?
You've been the only one doing the show the whole time. I've been an AI buddy. Just to bounce thoughts off of. Haven't you ever noticed all I say is, yes, continue.
Oh, God.
Please elaborate.
This could be
I've never actually introduced a new idea this whole time.
Some people might think it's a Beautiful Mind situation, but I say it's a Saint Elsewhere situation.
Saint
and if you
Elsewhere.
get that reference...
I don't. Because
I'm
Garth.
old.
Oh, okay.
All right. So our patron producers.
Who are they?
Monster Squadron. Roll Call.
Okay.
Travis Alexander. The Bi Barbarian. Rachel Krieger. Tom Dahl. Justin Duckham. Kelly Flynn. Gunnar Franks. Carla Harrington. Havelock. New Jared. Ken with 2 N's. Brian Lamb. TJ Levenhagen. Alicia Overton. Jordan Ramey, a different one, but still the same one.
Uh-huh.
Blue Roan and Tatum.
I like how you slid it into your whatchamacallit's names.
He lives in my head.
That guy.
He shares a room with Orson Welles, and the two of them are arguing about who's going to do the goddamned dishes. I'm not doing those dishes. I did not make that meal.
It's truly
Shut up!
an odd couple situation in Cody's head. So that's it, everybody.
All right, so until next time, remember, the only thing that's haunted
is you. That's all our voices. Nice.
That's amazing.
That was amazing.
Say goodbye.
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I'll take you to burn. Fire. I'll take you to learn. I'll see you burn.
They do say the camera never lies, and these certainly look like ghosts. What can you tell me about these photographs?
Well, they're lies. The images are not ghosts, they're double exposures. They're the kind of image, however, that's been made and continues to be made today. They've been made since about the 1860s.
The Least Haunted podcast is recorded before a dead studio audience and is a presentation of Sequoidea Productions, LLC.